The one thing that most people tend to do is they try to get to perfection first before they implement something. What I would recommend, the advice that I've received is like, don't try to be perfect. Just do it. And then based on the feedback, try to iterate your product. Do not be afraid to fail because that's where you learn. And most people that I know are very afraid to fail. If I create a video or a podcast, if I put this on the internet, what would people think of me? They're afraid of judgment. This is not good enough. I have to make it better so that I can launch it. Even in startups, most people don't just send out their MVP into the market. Instead, they try to keep perfecting the product and they never launch at all. I would say do not wait. Just start right now, wherever you are right now, with the resources that you have right now. All you have to do is start. You'll figure out things on the way. You keep learning things on the way, and you should be comfortable with failing, and you shouldn't be ashamed of failing, because my biggest embarrassment is the investor speed dating, and I've learned so much from it. I failed in front of a lot of people. Turns out like that was one of the best things that could ever happen to me. And if I still that introverted kid who was afraid of failure, and if I didn't go onto the stage, I wouldn't have been here right now. I wouldn't have been at MIT. I wouldn't have been in all the places that I was. That's what I would say. Do not hesitate and just try. Fail as many times as possible and just get back up. But do not quit. That is something. You can fail as many times. You shouldn't quit.
Our featured guest today is the co-founder of Advantage Ecosystem. He's an entrepreneur passionate about technology, innovation, and education. Nayan, it's a great pleasure to have you as our featured guest today. Thank you so much for taking time to share your journey with us.
Thank you for having me, Nancy. Thank you so much. And thank you, Matt.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. We were wondering if you might just start us off talking about some of your earliest experiences, how you grew up, and what you think, some of the people or events in your life that kind of influenced your personal and professional development, kind of led you into this path.
Okay, so I was born and brought up in India. My childhood, I've been here in the Hyderabad city. And like it is one of the technology hubs in India, and my father is a software engineering. So I've always been inclined towards coding and learning technologies, like seeing how the technology grows. Like every day dad comes home, I'll be sitting with him and learning coding in the evening. So that's how my journey started. I used to be a pretty studious kind of a kid in school, like getting good grades and stuff. And my aim was to get into one of the Ivy League kind of schools in India, IITs, the Indian Institute of Technology. Unfortunately, because of the COVID time and all the restrictions and lockdowns that happened, I was not able to get myself admitted into one of the topmost engineering colleges in India. I always had this vision of doing something impactful to contribute something impactful to the society. Yeah, change my family's trajectory too. Like I had my personal goal of making my future and my family's future better, and also to do something meaningful. So as Steve Jobs said, like make a dent in the universe, like do something that will make people remember you for a very longer period of time, even after you're gone. So that is something that always inspired me. My first goal was to get into IITs, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Few of my friends got in and they were like in one of the topmost, and I got into a different college. It was a good college, but it was not an IIT, unfortunately. So I had two options: either end up disappointed that I didn't get into something so that my future will be better, or do something in the college that I am in right now. Unfortunately, when we see the Indian education system, it is a little bit exclusive, I would say. So I'll give you a little context about how these engineering institutes work. From 12th grade, so there is this entrance examination called JEE, Joint Entrance Examination. So around 12 lakh 12th grade kids write this examination, and only the 1%, like the top 10,000 people, get into good universities. And the rest of the around 10 lakh students that are there, they're in some different kind of universities spread across India, which are not that great. So the Indian education system has become very exclusive, and only the 1% of the students are getting access to quality education, quality opportunities, or quality professors, quality research, whatever it may be. And the rest of the 99.9% people, like they're being deprived of it. So that is something that I faced in my first year of my undergraduate studies. Okay, I didn't get into IIT. I wanted to do something here, but the opportunities were not that great in the tier 2 and tier 3 colleges, which were not IITs or NITs. There is this so much exclusivity in education, and like there are like so many people who want to do stuff in the other colleges as well, but they're not able to do it because of all the restrictions that they have. But luckily, I found my learning through communities. There was a small technical club in our college called EDAM. So I led blockchain domain in that. So I was teaching blockchain to my peers and other students. We started off exploring other communities in the city itself, like partnering up with software companies, and that's how my learning journey started. And through communities, through hackathons, through workshops from Microsoft, Google, whenever it happened, I made sure that I was there so that I can align myself with the market trends, because our university is not doing that. Our curriculum is being lacking. There are no good opportunities, no mentors properly. So I went out to pursue them. Not many of them did that. And they don't even know that there is this free communities out there, industry professionals who are actually helping out students to get resources and learn all this stuff. That was something that I noticed in the beginning. And later on, I started my own community called Microsoft Student Community Hyderabad. So I got selected as a beta Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador in Hyderabad. So through that, I started this Azure awareness program in Hyderabad for the engineering students. So we did a lot of events. We handled the community sessions, workshops. We brought in guest speakers from PayPal, Microsoft, all the other Azure technologies, so to create that awareness and give students the credit so that they can build projects on Azure as well. But even though we're providing great amount of value, we're not able to properly reach out to the target audience because we were on WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, or Instagram most of the time. And these platforms were not meant for education or community purposes, especially for productive stuff. They're made for entertainment. I struggled a lot for to maintain my community, to grow my community. Even though we're giving out like great value, I struggle to get in the people into the community and make them engage with it. So with that initiative, we started Advantage Community before. So this was like a place where all the communities could come together and stay at one place so that it'll be easier for students to discover the communities and like-minded people in tier 2 and tier 3 colleges. So that's how we started, and the journey took off from there. Like we based on market research, based on boot camps and the mentorship that we got, the feedback and all, we pivoted, and we are here right now with Advantage Ecosystem. The main thing was like we don't want education to be exclusive. Like I believe that anyone who wants to learn anything, they should have the right to learn. They should provide all the resources that should be there.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, that's really cool. It sounds like that kind of the idea for Advantage ecosystem, Advantage community really came out of a necessity, right? More than anything. And I love that that's how this kind of came to be, and these are the problems that you're solving. So that being said, I'd love to hear a little bit more about Advantage ecosystem. Like obviously it's kind of a learning hub, but what does it entail and where are you currently? And then a little bit about like what are your plans for it and how does it scale?
Okay. At Advantage Ecosystem, basically, our mission is to revolutionize the way people learn and grow by creating an environment that will harness a neuroscience backed approach called as intrinsic motivators. As usual, like we believe that learning should be engaging, it should be meaningful, and it should seamlessly integrate both into your personal and professional context. So that is our vision and mission of the Advantage Ecosystem. We are like providing a holistic platform, like tools that bridges the gap between education, professional learning, and collaboration. So it's a neuroscience backed environment that leverages tools that are designed to enhance the way communities, learners, and organizations connect, learn, and grow together. So we operate basically on two key verticals. One is open learning, like which is to empower learners through communities and collaborative spaces, like basically any open communities that are there, any student or any from any person. So it's completely open. And the second one would be closed learning. So this is for corporate learning and development departments, especially. We tailor our tool called collaborative spaces to their exact company needs so that they can provide their corporate training in a much more efficient way by harnessing the power of peer-to-peer learning. So that is something that we do. As of now, we have three tools. The first one is community spaces. So basically, this works in two ways again. The first way would be for the community leaders. So for the community leaders, this acts as a community as a service platform where you can build your community, grow your community, scale your community, reach out to people, host events online, and make sure that you are meaningfully engaging with your audience. And the second part would be through students or learners' perspective. They get a platform where they can discover their like-minded people, their communities, so that first they can connect with them and later on they can collaborate and grow to learn new skills or build new projects, and the possibilities are endless that could happen through collaboration. The unique tools are the micro campus collaborative spaces is one. So this is designed for real-time collaboration. Most of the time collaboration in offline spaces is like very productive, like brainstorming happens in a very casual way. There is like a proper flow, but when it comes to online collaboration, that doesn't usually get replicated, the kind of productivity that is there in the offline space. So microcampus collaborative spaces is like a space where we are trying to replicate that offline kind of collaborative features into the online space with the help of the neuroscience backed approach. So to help the learners stay engaged and focused on whatever they're doing. And the third one is Quest Labs. So Quest Labs is where the magic happens. Like this is something that I'm very excited about. Basically, these are like gamified learning environments. So anyone can transform their traditional course content into an engaging narrative-driven quests and challenges. So they're built to trigger the curiosity, the mastery, and like if you ever notice that, like if we saw a movie a decade ago or listened to a song decade ago and we didn't listen to it or saw that movie again, but even after like 10, 20 years, when we see something related to it, we remember every part of the lyric, every part of the movie that happened. But that doesn't happen when we are studying or learning something. Like we tend to forget it in a month. So we're trying to mix both of the things by adding narrative to courses and narrating like that skill to whatever skills that we're doing and making it a quest lab. So quest labs is a place where any community or any organization can create their quests and host it online, and they can use it in various purposes as their courses or hackathons, and they can use it however they want to, like workshops or stuff. We actually we built one quest lab on our own, and we hosted it for web scraping especially. It's called the Bookkeepers Challenge. Now how this goes is like, there is a story, like there is a philosophical kingdom called Bibliotheca, and there is a library that the Grand Master, the Citadel Library, and the 5 books are stolen. The 5 most important books of the library and the kingdom are being stolen. So you as a protagonist, we have given you a library, a digital library. You as a protagonist have to do the quests and challenges, scrape the website based on the challenges, and find out what those 5 books are and where were they gone, like who stole it or where are they lost. So what happens in this is, like, first thing is like there's no course and then get onto assignment. So the students directly just get into the application part of it, and through the quests and challenges they learn. Instead of learn and apply, they learn by doing it. And also there is a narrative added to it in the background that helps them remember it and give that autotelicity, like the love for doing things. It's like they're solving a crime thriller. So they're in a movie, they're a protagonist. That makes it more engaging and stuff as well. So these are the 3 things. And now to discuss the 2 verticals again. So the first one, open learning, is a B2C. We work with communities, students, and lifelong learners basically to create the personalized learning paths, events, projects, making sure that community engagement and community growth keeps fostering in a proper life cycle. And in a closed learning for B2B, for as I discussed, like the corporate L&D departments, we provide like the customized tools to deliver, engage, and monitor their training programs as well, training and onboarding. So this could include everything from compliance training to skill development. So we're actually working with one organization right now called NACL Industries. We're building a separate platform for their entire training and development department all over India, like in various branches. So it's an agri-tech one. And how do we differentiate ourselves? We're not an LMS platform. So most of the time people confuse that. We are again another LMS platform, learning management system. But our platform is like, how we differentiate is foundational on neuroscience research. So there is this organization called the Flow Research Collective by Stephen Kotler and Ryan Doris, like if you've heard about it. So what they talked about, intrinsic motivators and their ability to help learners or anyone get into a flow state. So flow is like a state where you work without knowing what is happening around you. So it improves your focus. It boosts your productivity, and also like there is this research that has been done by the Defense Agency of America, I guess DARPA something. So when in the sniper training, they saw that the individuals who learn sniper training in a flow state showed 450 times more productivity. And also University of Sydney did the same research. So when people are in flow state, they tend to be more creative. They solve problems in a faster way. The skill acquisition happens in a faster way. And how I discovered this is something different. So me personally, I was like, my motivation was explosive sometimes. It comes in a peak, but it only lasts for a very short period of time. And most of us experience that. Like even if we take any online course as well, like we see that like one day we have like great motivation and we just buy the course. But on the second day or third day, we don't even open that course. And 80 to 90% of the students don't even complete their edtech courses that they buy or anything, because the motivation is not sustaining. Obviously, to do anything meaningful, to learn, to be a perfectionist, specialize in a skill, or to build any great thing, we need motivation for a longer periods of time. because nobody has built great companies in a single day or single month or even in a year. It takes a long time, and the motivation needs to sustain that long, which is very difficult. But through these intrinsic motivators like curiosity, autonomy, mastery, autotelicity, and purpose, and these five are stacked up for an individual, they enter into this flow state that helps them have their motivation sustained for a longer period of time. So basically, it triggers your dopamine, norepinephrine, and all the other neurochemicals that are in your brain that helps you get into that flow state. So, what if anyone who's learning any kind of skill or building any project can harness this power of flow state while they're doing it? So, that will help them learn that skill in a faster way, build that project in a meaningful way, collaborate in and engage in a meaningful way, right? So, this is where our platform gets better. So, through every action that a user takes on our platform, through these three tools that I said, they tend to trigger one of the motivators. So, curiosity and autonomy. Curiosity is basically like through Quest Labs, when we given that narrative, like what happens next, that is kind of a curiosity. Direct seeing your direct applications of learning. So, that triggers curiosity. Autonomy is when you choose where you want to learn, through who you want to learn, and choosing your own path and learning path that gives you your own freedom and control. And mastery is like we're trying to get to the feedback loops to perfection, like how the feedback loops work and how people engage with the feedback loops. And purpose, obviously we're trying to engage every activity with a purpose. Each and every community has a purpose, each and every organization has a purpose, and make sure that individuals relate to whatever they're doing and that they relate to their own purpose as well. And autotelicity is making sure that every learning step is fun for them. So we're trying to cover these five intrinsic motivators and trigger them with each and every action that a user takes on our platform. So basically, for students, it's like enabling personalized journeys, so that creates fun and engaging. Corporate environments, it's about fostering a culture of continuous learning. So peer-to-peer learning is not happening in corporates and also in universities as well. We're trying to bring in that culture as well. And it can also be extended to remote and hybrid work later on, because collaborative spaces can be used for a vast number of applications. And what sets us apart is like as I said, the intrinsic. While many platforms that are existing right now, they're solely focused on delivering content. So bringing in new courses again and again, or like that's what most of the edtech platforms are focusing on. But we focus on making the learning experience meaningful, engaging, and effective. We're not trying to produce any new courses. We're just giving our tools to people who are already building these courses and making this training happen to make their courses more effective and more meaningful.
That makes a lot of sense. I really appreciate you taking us through like the time, that you were with your dad and how that kind of influenced you. I can totally see how this idea kind of came about organically. And I hadn't realized like the disparity in Indian education. I really appreciate you taking us through that. And so I feel like I understand the problem much better than I did just reading about it. I love your concept. And I wonder, and I am thinking like someone that lives in the US, so feel free to, tell me about the differences. But I love the concept of, breaking down the barriers of traditional learning and empowering learners to connect, collaborate, and grow together in these communities. And in fact, I mean, that's very much like our mission in the Founders Voyage community. But in actuality, what about like someone that is trying to upskill, who's trying to apply for maybe a more, what they feel like is elite employer? How do employers view that sort of education, and how do you kind of quantify it? I would say, like in the US now, we have a lot more certificate programs. Maybe employers value some of those certificates. So how do you see that, like from an employer's perspective to the students, like not the corporate serving part of your organization, but the student serving part of your organization? Are they able to kind of upskill themselves and say like, no, I really did this work, I really do understand this concept? How do they prove that, I guess?
So mostly the training part, whatever the learning that happens, it happens through communities. They're like, we're trying to bring in multiple communities that are providing different kind of courses and stuff. They provide certifications as well, as I did through my Microsoft student community, like Azure Essential programs and stuff like that. So the communities, they give out these tests and stuff. They bring out these courses. And additionally to that, we try to add more gamifying elements like leaderboards, like the XP points that people get when they engage with people, give feedback, work on their feedback iteratively, complete tasks and quests. So we're trying to keep that engaging part, as well as communities giving out their own certifications and making sure that they have their own, each and every community has a different way of assessing students if they're learning this or not, through projects or through hackathons. That's one of the biggest things happening in India right now, like hackathons.
Yeah, that's so fun. So each of these communities and organizations gets to make like their own certification process. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. So if you were an employer, so when you said you started a Microsoft community, see that makes total sense to me because that's a name that someone would look at on a resume and say, "Oh, you have this certificate from this community learning program that's meaningful to me." So I guess I'm just wondering, in a competitive job market, how do you differentiate, that certification program, even if that person really understands the concept from some other certification program that they could have gone through?
Yeah. So basically, in India right now, certificates have no value in India, like, to be really honest, because a lot of people manage to upskill themselves without paying for anything, because YouTube has vast number of resources. There's like free documentation for every software that is available. And every courses that are there are mostly free. Like, you can learn, you can build your own stuff without even getting the certificates as well. What we value is mostly certificates are optional. The communities can give the certificates or not. We focus more on learning and building meaningful stuff. We make sure that people learn in an effective way and apply whatever they learn to build meaningful projects. Because when you're learning theory, it's of no use basically if you just learn and leave. So the knowledge is only applicable when you are able to practically enable it or build something out of it. So we're trying to focus more on that instead of just gaining certificates by examinations. We're trying to bring in that practical application by doing stuff. So we're focusing more on that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like the idea that you're practically applying, and there's pros and cons to that, right? It's going to be based on kind of your environment, your practice area, your culture, right? So it sounds like that's valued, right? And in the US as well, it's a bit more valued of like, what can you do rather than, where's your certificate from? I think there's a nice balance between theory, right? Understanding how things operate and work versus application. And so I think that's really cool that you're actually like focusing a bit more on the application and how you can actually get people skilled.
Hi there. If you're enjoying this podcast, would you mind leaving us a review, a like, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform? Thanks so much. That really helps our reach. The Founders Voyage podcast is now proudly sponsored by VidOps. Kane at VidOps has been taking care of our editing since early 2024. He works efficiently, and I'm sure you'll agree that he does a great job. Thank you to VidOps for helping bring this podcast to life. If you want the same great support we're getting for your podcast, or you need help with video, photography, or animation, you can get 10% off at vidops.io using our referral code Voyage. That's vidops.io, referral code Voyage. Now back to the show.
I do want to take a moment to shift a little bit here, if you don't mind. I know we're getting about halfway through, but I'd love to learn a little bit more at some point about Solaris as well, your other opportunity. And so would love to hear a little bit more about that.
I'm a computer science student, but like, I've always been passionate about space. Like, maybe it was with the help of Star Wars, I guess, and then later on Christopher Nolan movies and stuff. Like, and also I'm a huge fan of Michio Kaku's work, and I listen to Star Talk, like Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast. This is what like, your degree shouldn't define what you're learning and what you're applying to. I believe that curiosity should be driving you, and Solaris is completely out of curiosity. That's something that I'm doing. So I really like one dialogue in Interstellar, like, humanity was born on Earth, but it was never meant to die here. So that something was ingrained in my brain, and I was like always thinking about it. What can I do? So I always wanted to do something in the field of space and research to make sure that humanity goes beyond Earth and sustains a life over there. Building a startup in the space sector is like very expensive. Like, it's a capital intensive space, and you need a lot of experience. You need a lot of money. You need a lot of team, a bigger team and stuff. And unfortunately, as a 21-year-old computer science student, I don't have that. I don't have like so much experience in space research as well. I don't have a lot of money, that amount of capital to run a space agency as well. So what can I do right now? But I want to do something. Like, I'm very curious about it. I'm very passionate about it. So I thought, like, what can I do about it? So I went back to the first principles. So what do I have right now? So I have a curious mind. I have internet for free resources, And I have my amazing MIT bootcamps team, like from Croatia. Like I've networked with a lot of aerospace students over there from Taiwan and multiple places. So we are like a like-minded group of people. We're there. We have internet. We have things. So we thought, like, what can we do right now with this purpose, like to make humanity multiplanetary species? So research is always free because there's always information out there. So we started this open research organization called Solaris, and it focuses on astrobiology, like propulsion systems, sometimes theoretical physics. How can we explore that? So each and every week we delve into one research topic and we just do a research on it and we make a podcast on it. So what we want to do is we want to do this for a longer period of time, collecting all the like-minded people with experience in that field as well, and then building a credibility for ourselves as an organization, space research organization. And then through this journey, maybe we'll identify problems that we can actually solve, and then we have a credibility, we have a team. That's when we can go to the investors for the investment, and then get the agency going, space agency. So that is the long-term plan.
I love that you kind of took this curiosity that you had about this and like what you already know about community learning, and making action happen through communities and applied it to this subject. I was thinking about this as I was reading, I mean, you're an amazing writer too, for anybody that is interested. Solaris has a podcast as well. So I'm looking forward to listening to that because I just read some of the articles you wrote on LinkedIn and they're great. But as someone who grew up in the US, a lot of how I learned about space exploration is sort of through this lens of it being like this competitive race between countries. And I love that you're proposing, like a global initiative dedicated to, advancing the frontiers of space exploration and enabling like humanity as a whole to become like a multi-planetary species. So I don't expect you to have all the answers, but in your vision, how do you envision that we could bring more of a sense of like global partnership into this field?
Yeah, basically, like when we look at global partnership, it comes if we move in like a traditional organization that starts bringing this again races to communities and different kinds of stuff. But when we see it as like an open source kind of a platform, like open source software that anyone can contribute to, like a blockchain that anyone can be a part of it. So if we look from that view, like if we align with the vision of the organization and not with the pay that we are getting to from it, or like for any other benefit, like if you're actually curious about it, if you actually want to contribute towards it, then I think collaboration can happen from any part of the world. Like anybody who is interested could join. Like there is no barriers for it because internet enables us to talk to people from different parts of the world and just learn new stuff each and every single day. So that's how I view it. Like this is an open source project that anyone who's interested can come and contribute to it.
That's really cool. I love that. Again, it just kind of fits with, I'll say, your values. It sounds like as a community creator, right? Bringing people together and having people collaborate and really just open collaboration. So I really love that you've applied that to a separate topic that you're interested in. I love the idea that you're exploring space kind of on your own terms and using that as an education platform. I think that's really cool. I also grew up with Star Trek and Star Wars. So space exploration has always been fascinating to me. But similarly, like companies are expensive, right? And so to start in space exploration, but to your point, like being able to get engaged in other ways, right? And so I love that you've kind of put together this podcast and listened to a few episodes. I really enjoyed it. It was engaging. So really appreciate you putting that out there. Kind of to that point, right? Clearly have a couple companies or a couple of startups that you're working through, which is awesome. Like love the collaborative education piece of it, the decentralized education piece. I think that's really fascinating. Love that you're applying that same kind of mantra and model. What have been some of the biggest challenges you've had in your startups thus far? Like where have you found yourself struggling a bit and kind of what have you learned from that?
The main challenge that I would say is like whenever you're starting too early, like when you just get an idea and you start working on it, but sometimes that may not be what the market needs. So getting to the market need, like aligning your vision and your product to what the market needs, that is something that it took a lot of time to do the market research to get to that value. So before we were Advantage community, so that was like a more of an open initiative. It was a great project idea, but was not a good viable business solution. But to get from that idea stage to a viable business solution, that's where the challenge was for me. And then also translating your vision and bringing it to life. So in the very early stages, getting your MVP, taking it to market, getting your first users, and then taking the feedback and iterating it again and again. And when you're on a money constraint, like when you're on a capital constraint, because ours is a bootstrap startup right now, We still didn't raise any investment from the external investors. So when you're completely constrained, and you also have your academics that you have to take care of, you also have your family responsibilities that you have to take care of. Navigating through the startup journey is already a little difficult than other paths, in my opinion. And also having all this stuff, and as a student with the capital constraints, so that's where I found a lot of challenges, I would say, personally.
I really appreciate you sharing that. I think sometimes there's things to talk about. It's good that you can look back and kind of reflectively, just see that for yourself. And it sounds like you've definitely learned a lot from that experience. I was also curious because, you're talking about how you're still in touch with your boot camp team, and I think that's great. So you went to the boot camp program, when you were already in the midst of, flying with this company. What prompted your interest in attending the boot camp at that time? Like, what made that a good time for that program? And then which of the tools, if any, from, that model or that framework have you found most useful for yourself?
The first one would be like, you never get to a product market fit in a very early stages. You have to keep iterating based on market research, and there are like many different ways to do it. What helped me the most was Erdon's perspective to how to approach the market research and stuff, the classes that he taught. So MIT, why I attended the bootcamp was like, I was always fascinated with MIT. MIT was like one of my dream universities. Like, I've always kept myself updated with everything that's happening, all the projects, all the researches that keep happening. The first time I applied, I got into the online bootcamp at the time of Croatia, but I was not able to attend it because of other COVID reasons and also the expenses that time. But later on, I applied to it, which happened in Croatia in 2024. I got in, and also I got a 75% scholarship. Like, Meli was kind enough to help me with that process as well. So yeah, I was like, this is the perfect time because we've been doing good in the Indian ecosystem. Like, because the problem was rooted to Indian education market. So I wanted to know, like, what is a global perspective as well? How could this apply to other countries, other students, other learners from different parts of the world? Collaborating with international participants and learning from MIT professors was always very exciting. And yeah, before going, obviously, I read the book Disciplined Entrepreneurship, The 24 Steps to Success. So it actually helped a lot in the boot camp as well to navigate through that hectic schedule and also in the learning journey. So it was completely amazing. That book actually changed the way I think about how to approach, because my approach was mostly random, like try and fail, try and fail, try and fail. That was kind of my approach before. But now I just got a framework to follow stuff. Like, whenever I'm in a difficult situation that I don't know what to do, I just go refer that book. Okay, so this is the kind of these are the steps I should take, and I just follow that. And also, like, MIT, like the Martin Trust Center for MIT Entrepreneurship recently launched this product called Orbit.ai. Orbit AI. It is an AI bot built on top of the Disciplined Entrepreneurship book by Bill All. It's even better. So you don't have to go through the book again and again. You can just give out your idea. You can go to which stage you are and just navigate through your problems in a very easy way. MIT experience has helped me a lot because I found a great network, great people, amazing lessons that I got. Like, in that 1 week, I've learned more than what I've learned in the last 3 years. I just learned in that 1 week how to handle that pressure and stuff. And also, because of that, understanding the international markets and that exposure as well helped us to expand to Thailand. So we recently made a partnership with MakerBox Laos. So they're an organization based in Laos and Thailand. So we're starting our pilot program in January. Our Quest Lab tools, we're trying to experiment with the students of Thailand and Laos to see how we can help them to learn with this new culture of peer-to-peer collaboration as well. That is where it has been most helpful, like to understand different markets, perspectives, and just grow and find opportunities.
That's really great. I love that the boot camp and especially the tools and the book itself that it's based around. The framework has been extremely beneficial. I think it's great. Obviously, I think it's a great framework, right? Obviously, we went through the same experience. You mentioned product market fit, right? And I think personally, I think it's important, right? And something that a lot of people kind of put as a secondary piece, right? They put their ideas or solutions over doing the work to find product market fit. Can you talk a little bit more about what you went through as you were building out educational platforms, so Advantage Community, to really figure out that fit, right? Like, understand more about the marketplace, what that was like, kind of some of those steps that you were applying, because it'd be interesting to see like what you went through and how you got to where you're at today with that.
Yeah, I still remember the story that in my first year, we had an idea that we were working on, a decentralized idea sharing platform So we actually, with the team, we went to T Hub. There's this place called T Hub. Like it's one of the largest innovation centers in India and Asia. So it has a lot of investors. So there was a speed dating with investors over there. So we took our idea of decentralized idea sharing platform, and then we just went to pitch to the investors. So at that time, I was a purely computer science student, like only tech coding and stuff. I didn't know anything about business because I was 18 and I didn't go to business school before. Like my fundamentals were in maths, physics, and chemistry, and then I came to computer science, blockchain, and stuff. Like I was a completely tech focused group. We were so we went there and we started pitching to investors, and they started asking us questions like, "What was your TAM? What was your TOM? Addressable market, obtainable market, and stuff." And we had no clue about it. We didn't know anything. So the investor was kind enough, and he was like, "Okay, let's leave it. I'll try to explain to you about what this stuff." So that's when I started to learn about what markets are. He gave us few questions about how to start a hypothesis and test it in the market, see, like, get a quantitative feedback, qualitative feedback. So that's what I learned in that investor speed dating. We didn't pitch to we just pitched to one investor, and he was like straight enough, like, "No, don't pitch to any of those other investors. I'll just teach you what markets are because you're young enough, and you just came with a technical idea. So you should also see that if that fits to the market, if you're actually solving a problem, because that's what differentiates a business from an entrepreneurship. We have to solve a problem that is in the market, like addressing a group of people, and that should be a market big enough for the startup to sustain. You need to get to that product market fit." So that's when I started learning about it. And after that, obviously through internet and stuff, that's how I went on to learn more about product market fit, how to do your competitors analysis, different frameworks and stuff. We kept trying out different methodologies, testing and failing. Mostly it's try and fail kind of thing that we went on, because we didn't have, we're not from a business background as well. So we just try to do, if it's working, it's good enough. If it's not working, take the feedback and try to iterate it. And then I went on to another boot camp. So it's called Suzuki Innovation Centers. Like it's a Japanese based company. It's the Seed Innovators Bootcamp that happened in Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. So it is the topmost business school in India. That 3 months also helped us to get valuable perspectives of how to navigate through that market, how to get to the product market fit, how to make sure that your vision aligns with the product and the market needs as well. How important is the problem? So there is this analogy that really reflected with me, is like, don't just have a hammer in your hand and go and look for a nail. Find a nail and then choose your right tool and just beat it. So don't catch a solution and go find a problem over there, but find a problem and then build a solution to it. If it doesn't work, just change the hammer, iterate the solution, and build a new solution to it. But the problem would remain the same. So that's where like this whole concept came in. So the problem was the same: advantage, education exclusivity, and like proper traditional education systems willing to give that engagement and proper knowledge. But the solution kept changing from community to ecosystem right now.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you explaining that, because I think like those of us that like creating, like making things, can definitely get caught up in like, but this is the perfect solution for someone. I just have to find them. But you're so right that sometimes like if you fall in love with that problem, then all you have to do is just tweak your solution here and there so that you're really solving it for that audience. It sounds like you really made the most of those education opportunities, which I think is right in line with like who you are as a person and the organization that you're running. That's awesome. If I can, I'd like to pass to another community member. Carlos, who's an educator in Venezuela, has a question for you.
So, Nayan, I've got a question. It is, how has been the reaction from the community? What do they say about what you're doing? And I ask this because I think your idea is very disruptive. And when we have that kind of ideas, in some cases, the challenges we have or we face are a bit bigger. So I'm just curious. Okay, thank you.
Communities as in the community leaders that are on our platform, or like general community members itself?
No, I mean your students, the people you work with.
Yes. So the biggest problem is like whenever you're trying to do something new is getting people to adapt to it. So introducing to it. So we started out with our own programs itself. So instead of other communities building their own quest labs, so they don't know if it works or not. So we started building our own quest labs. We started taking workshops in different colleges, in different communities, and like taking students through the entire process of the quest, like making them go through the each and every challenge that is there on the quest. We're trying to give them awareness. So Yeah, mostly by going to different colleges, different universities, different sessions, and different industry workshops. And yeah, the feedback has been really good because in every workshop and every thing that students attend, it's mostly there is a mentor in the middle. He has a PPT presentation and he just goes through the lecture slides. But this time we're providing something different. Each and every person gets to engage with each and every other person, but there is a facilitator through which the knowledge shares around. So there is like a constant flow of knowledge and also narrative, a gamified element that keeps up their motivation and engagement levels. We're trying to monitor that as well, like how they're doing, how they did before with the help of communities, and how they're doing with our tools and stuff. We're trying to see how their engagement is increasing, taking testimonials, what we can do better. And so far, the feedback has been really positive, so that keeps us motivated even though like there are like different challenges. We keep going. And also this pilot program with MakerBox in Thailand, so that is also to test how the Thailand market is reacting to our product, how the Thailand community is reacting to our product. So that's how we're taking it. So we're just trying to bring as much awareness as possible on this inclusive, because most of the time when somebody wants to learn a skill, the first thing that they get is pursue a degree on it or buy an online course, but these are not that effective. So we want to show that there is a new way. You can learn through communities, you can learn through peer-to-peer education, you can learn on your own with the right tools in a much better way, in a more efficient and engaging way. So we're trying to spread that awareness as well. I hope it answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I wonder, how old are your students?
Yeah, most of them are undergraduates and few of them are pursuing their masters in US right now.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's awesome. I love that. Obviously, you're able to share a bit more about kind of the community, the feedback and response that you've gotten, right? Because it is tough trying to start something new or something that's slightly different, right? But that's how we grow and scale and build, right? So I love to hear that the feedback generally has been positive. It also sounds like you've gone through a lot of ups and downs of testing, failing, but figuring out what works for that space. And really, really love that you're testing different countries as well. That's really cool to see scaling like that. On that note, obviously, you're growing this, you're scaling it, you have Solaris. What's the future hold? What do you see kind of your problems to solve in the next 3 to 5 years? What are you looking forward to in the future? And where do you think you're going to take that given where you're at now?
We started off with open learning communities, and then we moved to corporates because we found a need for corporates as well. And then collaborative spaces is like a place where anyone can learn together and build projects or products together. So this can also help in remote work, in helping the organizations so that their teams can work remotely and meaningfully on an online platform, because remote work as of now is like completely distributed and decentralized thing. Like we use different kind of environments like Slack, GitHub, and multiple stuff. So this collaborative spaces can help organize and get people together when they're working in a remote area. So that's where we see, because after COVID, we saw that most of the organizations have shifted to hybrid work or remote work environments. And I really believe that the flexibility of work is something that the future would require and future wants. We also know that the Gen Z and millennials are entering into the workspace right now, and they have different kinds of demands and they want more freedom, they want more autonomy, they want more flexibility in work hours or maybe work location as well. So yeah, we want to expand to that domain as well with our collaborative spaces to help foster that remote work culture that is there in the organizations, so that anyone can work from anywhere in their own time and in their own space, but also without losing that productivity. Because when it comes to online, most people believe that the productivity levels go down. So with the help of a neuroscience backed approach, we're trying to make it much better so that people can focus on their work, whatever they're doing. So we just want to get there next in the next phase of what we are trying to do.
That's so exciting. Thank you for sharing that. We were talking in the beginning about New Year, and you said, well, I've just been working. And last New Year's Eve, I was working all New Year's Eve, and I made a vow to not do that this year. It's difficult, though. And as you said, it can be, a lonely journey. How do you find that work-life balance for yourself? How do you make sure it's in balance? And there's no right or wrong answer to this. I'm just wondering what that looks like for you.
For me, I personally think that 20s is a period of time where you shouldn't think about balance. So for me, I don't want that balance at all. Like sometimes I go extremes when I'm working. Like I put like every single day, like 16, 17, 18 hours of time working. So I I have few goals that I want to pursue before I'm 25. For me, till 30, I don't want to be in balance. I want to explore everything that is there. I want to take every opportunity that is there. Seize the day every single day. Like Carpe Diem. Like there is this movie. Like I forgot that movie. The Dead Poet Society. He says that Carpe Diem, seize the day. I want to seize the day every single day. Like take every opportunity that comes along the way without thinking that, okay, maybe this is my time to rest. I don't want to rest. I want to try everything, fail multiple times, because I've learned more through failures than through textbook learning or any other course that was ever there. So I want to fail as much as possible so that I can learn as much as possible in my 20s, get to the balance zone later on. So that's my perspective. But I wouldn't encourage everybody to like go through the balance away and just work. But for me it is like that, because whenever I'm not working, like my mind keeps like constantly like, you're not working. Like there is this voice behind my head, like you'll go behind, like, because there is like a lot of competition, like in Indian markets, in other markets as well. Like you need to have the first movers advantage. So that's what I want to do. Like I want to get there fast, try first, fail fast, and then just iterate it till we succeed.
That's great. I love the brutal honesty in that work-life balance. I mean, so often it's trying to find that balance. It sounds like you've got your priorities set on just let's go as hard and fast as possible and see what we can make, and then we'll figure out the rest later, which is great. I love it. That being said, it's certainly different than, a different view than myself and a few other folks that we've had through the podcast. I think to your point, you mentioned age being one of them, and it's absolutely true, right? I think when you're younger, you kind of have that flexibility and that opportunity to go hard and fast. And that doesn't mean that you can't when you're older. It's just as you get older, you start to think about prioritization, and there's just more to handle. So I love that that's where you're headed with this. That's great. Love to hear it. As we kind of come to the closing of the hour, we have one final question that we always end with. And so I'm going to throw this your way. If you've listened to the podcast, you know what's coming, which is great. What words of wisdom do you want to leave us with today as we close out this session, right? It can be a quote, it can be a mantra, it can be advice someone gave to you, or just a lesson from your journey so far. Like, what would you like to leave all of our listeners in the community with as we close out this session?
The one thing that most people tend to do is like they try to get to perfection first before they implement something. What I would recommend, the advice that I've received is like, don't try to be perfect. Just do it. And then based on the feedback, try to iterate your product. Like, do not be afraid to fail, because that's where you learn. And most people like that I know are like very afraid to fail. Like if I create a video or a podcast, like if I put this on the internet, what would people think of me? They're afraid of judgment. This is not good enough. I have to make it better so that I can launch it. And that's even in startups, most people don't just send out their MVP into the market. Instead, they try to keep perfecting the product and they never launch at all. So I would say do not wait, just start. Like right now, wherever you are right now, with the resources that you have right now, all you have to do is start. And then you'll figure out things on the way. You keep learning things on the way. You'll fail certain times, and you should be comfortable with failing. And you shouldn't be ashamed of failing, because my biggest embarrassment is the investor speed dating. And I've learned so much from it. I failed in front of a lot of people in the speed dating, but turns out like that was one of the best things that could ever happen to me. And if I till that introverted kid who was afraid of failure, and if I didn't go onto the stage, I wouldn't have been here right now. I wouldn't have gone to maybe I wouldn't have been at MIT. I wouldn't have been in all the places that I was. So that's what I would say. Like, do not hesitate and just try, fail as many times as possible, and just get back up. But do not quit. That is something. Like, you can fail as many times, but you have to get back. You shouldn't quit.
Absolutely. Yes. And I love visual illustration too. There are so many great ones out there. That is great advice. Well, thank you so much for taking so much time today with us, Nayan. We really appreciate your thoughts and everything you shared with us and taught us. And thank you for everyone that joined us live. Matt and I and the team behind Founders Voyage feel fortunate to have the opportunity to bring this sort of cooperative learning experience to you each week. And we love to hear your nominations for future Saturday guests. Nayan, I know you have a podcast we need to check out, Explore the Cosmos with Solaris. And if people have follow-up questions for you, how should they reach you?
So they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Like, I'm very active, like writing blogs and stuff. LinkedIn is the place where I'm active most of the time. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn.
That sounds great. Well, thank you so much again. We really appreciate you sharing your perspectives, and we really appreciate you taking this time. And we look forward to staying in touch with you and hearing about your journey.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Matt. And thank you for having me. It was an amazing talking to you all.
We'll keep in touch. Have a great evening.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Take care. You've just finished another episode of Founders Voyage, the podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. The team at Founders Voyage wants to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope you enjoyed your time with us, and if so, please share this with someone else who might enjoy this podcast. You can also support us by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and by donating to our Patreon. Outro music today is Something for Nothing by Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band.